Hello everyone, welcome to a new video of the indicator store of the series Do It Yourself. And today we are going to cover one, in my opinion, of the best functions of NinjaTrader. And I am referring to Strategy Builder, but even better, Strategy Analyzer. Okay, because you will not find this option on other platforms. And let me show you. Let's say that, for example, you want to create a strategy or you want to find which are the best settings for, I don't know, maybe a stochastic crossover. Let's say we use stochastic. I am going to choose indicators that are included with NinjaTrader. Okay, so stochastics with this my preferred parameter, so I am only using the key line. Okay, and then I want to create a signal when, look at this, no? When I have a crossover from the overbought, when it is getting outside the overbought. Okay, so instead of entering long when I enter overbought, no, I wait to getting outside of the overbought and then I enter short. And the same for the other side, no? Let's say here. So we have several options, not only the instrument and the time frame, but also the parameters of the stochastic. Currently we need the period of the key line and the smoothness. We are not using the D line, so we have this parameter, and also the levels 20 and 80, or maybe different numbers. And we can try to do that visually, but with NinjaTrader we have several options. For example, let's say that we want to automate that. So first we need builder. So we go to new, strategy builder. Then we select a new strategy. We choose a name, for example, with stock crossover or STO key, because I am going to use the key line with stock key cross. Okay, we are working at bar close, and this is important because I want to optimize parameters, and the optimizer works at bar close, so I better optimize. I better create my strategy to work at bar close, because this is what I am going to optimize. Okay, now this is the section where you can add additional instruments or even more time frames. For example, you can create a multi-time frame, but this is for another topic. Okay, let's make it really simple. Input parameters. What I want to let the user to change and also to optimize. For example, the target. We can set a default parameter like 50. This is Nasdaq, so 50 ticks is really small. Okay, stop 50. This is the default, but the user can change it. Then the parameters of the logic. The logic is using stochastic, and for the stochastic we need the period of the key line and the smoothness. So period of the key line. Currently I am using 7, but I have no idea if this is the best selection. And also the smoothness. Smooth. And it is using 3. I usually don't change that, but I want to let the user to also change that parameter. Then we have overbought. By default is 80. Overbought. Let's make it an integer, okay? 80 with a minimum of 0. and then the oversold 20, with also a minimum of 0. You can make it double if you want to add decimal, but in my opinion, this is just a number between 0 and 100. We don't need more than an integer, okay? And that's all, I think. Yes, well, if we need more parameters, then we can go back. So next, this is the section where we add conditions, actions, and then we can add more conditions. So on the first tab, we select which are the conditions for a short, like this, a short. And we can say, okay, I want to be short if, let's focus on this area. If on the current bar here, the value of the key line is less than 80, and on the previous bar is over. In other words, it is a cross below. Okay, the key line is crossing below this level. So add. So we are adding a condition. When the condition is true, we do something at the bottom. The condition is that this indicator stochastics which line, because it has several plots, as you can see. I am interested in the key line. As I am not using the D line, we can leave this as 1, the period. But the period of the key line is something that I want to change and also optimize. So we link this parameter to the input parameters of the strategy that we defined on the previous page. So this is period key. The smoothness is the input parameter smooth. Okay? And I want to detect when this indicator with these parameters, this plot, the red line, crosses below another input parameter, the overbought, this level. And when this is true, we can add more conditions here. If all of them are true, then we execute what is at the bottom. And at the bottom, we can, for example, paint the background. This is the easiest signal to paint because we don't need a vertical position like the price, no? So just paint the background color in color, for example, yellow. Okay, so I want to paint the background in yellow when we have a short signal. I usually start by painting signals instead of executing. Okay, then we need another tab which is the same, but looking instead of a cross below, a cross above, but different level. Okay, so we can right click and duplicate that tab. So now we have another exact same logic, and we can edit that logic. Everything on the left is correct, okay, because it is the key line with the same parameters. But now we check if we have a cross above. We are crossing above this level, and this level is not overbought, is oversold. Okay, in that case we paint with a different color, let's say cyan. Okay, and now that's all. Okay, if this condition is true, paint the background. If this condition is true, for painting, this is more than enough. So we can compile and see if it is doing what we want on the chart. Okay, and now we can apply the strategy to the chart, and it should be painting, just painting, not executing nothing. To add the strategy to the chart, right click, strategies. The name that we assigned was with this one. Okay, so we place it here at the bottom, double click, and now we have target, stop, the period of the key line, the smoothness, the overbought, and the oversold. We can select an account where you want to execute this, but this is not using the account because it is not executing any order. Okay, so you can enable from here, but to enable a strategy, you can add the strategy, like here. Okay, the strategy is disabled. Okay, and on the control center, on the strategies tab, you can also see all the strategies that you have loaded. Now, if you are connected, like here, then you can also enable the strategy. So I am going to enable the strategy, and now you can see that when we have a cross below, it is painted in yellow, a cross above, it is painted in cyan. Let's see how it looks. There are a lot of signals. So how can I know if the performance of this is good or not? It seems to be more or less this long is okay, this short is okay, this short is okay, but we don't know if this is the best combination of parameters. Okay, so let's continue. Now we can leave the painting. Okay, so because we can add several actions. Now I also want to, if I paint in yellow, I want to add an order to enter short. Okay, and on the other, enter long. Enter long. And now it is not using target and stops. So if I execute this strategy, it is going to enter short, enter long, enter long, enter. The second enter long is ignored, okay, because it is already long. So what it's doing is enter short, enter long, ignore, enter short, ignore, enter long, and so on. So always in the market, reversing. But I don't want that. Or yes, that depends on you, no? Because you can also check if this is a good option or not. I want to add target and stop, and this is on the following section. So I add a target in ticks because the input parameter that we define is an integer. So let's make it ticks. And the value of the target is my input parameter, target. Okay? And okay. And the same for the stop. In ticks, and the parameter is stop. Okay, okay. Compile again. And now if I disable the strategy and enable the strategy, it should be placing orders. And yes, we can see it is doing that. The problem is this is 15 minutes. Let's change to 5 minutes, okay? Because on 15 minutes, 50 ticks is too small. You can see how small is the size. But anyway, it doesn't matter. You can change the time frame to whatever you want. You can also change the instrument, okay? So the strategy is only looking at one indicator, a logic, and then entering long or short. So your strategy is not related to an instrument or to a time frame. Now that we can see this, let's see if the targets and stops are working. For example, this long is good, but it is stopped out because the stop is too small. How can I change the parameters? Go to right click, strategies, and change the stop to something, let's say 3 times that. Let's make it 4 times so it is not taken out. So you need to turn off the strategy, apply, make the stop 4 times bigger. Let's make it 5 times bigger, 250. And the same for the stop, 250 for the target, sorry. enable, apply, and now it is not stopped out, and you get a target. So, okay, you can do this visually. The problem is now you need to check the rest of the signals, and maybe how can you know if this is the best of the best combination? Okay, you can right click strategy performance and get the performance of the historical trades, but this is limited to what you have on the chart. Okay, this is the report. The profit factor is less than 1, so you know this is not good. But also, if you look at the analysis per day, we have a low number of days. Okay, so we need, let's say, 1 month, 2 months, not just one week. Okay, this was not the intention to enter. Look at what happens if I disable the strategy. If I disable the strategy, the orders are removed, but my position remains. Okay, so I need to close that position from positions, right click, close. So now what I need is to find which are the best parameters to use on this strategy. And we can try this on Nasdaq, on 5 minutes, 15 minutes with another instrument, etc. Now we can close this. And now in my opinion, the most important tool on NinjaTrader, the strategy analyzer. New strategy analyzer. Okay, this is the strategy analyzer. Let me remove from here. Okay. Now, the name of the strategy here is with sto this one, stochastic key cross, and we can see the parameters. But I don't want to execute a backtest. Okay, I want to optimize the parameters, optimization. And on the optimization, what we get is a range of parameters. For example, let's say we want to try between 50 ticks that we saw it is really small to 250. Let's try, I don't know, between 50 and 500. And I don't know if this is big enough, okay? In intervals of how much? I don't know, 50. So we can try 50, 100, 150, 200. So we have several backtests now, more or less 10 or 11 backtests. And for the stop, the same, between 50 to 500 in intervals of 50. Okay? And for the period of the key line, that's a good point. Let's leave this by default, okay? So let's leave the stochastic as 7, 3, though we're both 80 and 20. We are just testing different combinations of target and stops. Where on Nasdaq NQ? With time frame, I don't know, 5 minutes, okay? Which time interval? Ending today and starting today minus, here we have half a month, so we can add 1, 2 months. So we have 2 months and a half, okay? And I am going to leave the holidays out, so we can start on this second week, okay? We are including commissions, and now you can see that we have more or less 10 combinations multiplied by another 10 combinations, in total more or less 100. You can see here by run 100 combinations of target and stops. And now you can see that we get 10 different results because it executes the 100 backtests, calculates the profit factor, sort by profit factor, and shows the 10 best. And those are the 10 best. And you can see the profit factor is really not good. Okay, we can see this on the analysis. And each one of them is a different solution where I am sure that I selected 5 minutes, no 1 minute. Let me try again, sorry. More or less the same. You can try different time frames. If you don't want to change the period and the smoothness and the overbought and the oversold, you can try until you find a time frame where it works. So it is approaching to something that works, but the profit factor is, I will say, better than 1.4 will be the best, okay? So we can try going slower, 15 minutes. It is improving, okay, but only on the last day. But anyway, we don't care because this is what happened in the past with this pattern. So what we suppose is that in the future, if the market conditions are the same, it should be trying to do the same, okay? So if the participants of the trading are the same, the patterns are going to continue. So more or less, this should keep working for some time, but not forever, okay? So we can try to use this. The profit factor is okay. We have a good number of trades, another important number, because if I have only 10 trades, then the statistic is not so robust, okay? And okay, let's say no, I want to focus on 5 minutes because I want to trade on 5 minutes. But we already saw this. We don't have nothing useful here, okay? Because none of the solutions have a good number. But maybe changing the rest of the parameters, we can make it work. Now you can see there are a lot of parameters. Let's try the overbought and the oversold. The oversold is a number close to 100, and we can try between 60 to 90 in intervals of 10. So we have 60, 70, 80, 90, 4 combinations. 4 combinations multiplying the 100 that we already have, 400 combinations. So now if we do the same here, from 10 to 40 in intervals of 10, we have another 4 combinations. 4 multiplied by 4 is 16, multiplied by 100, more or less 1,600. Yes, 106,000. So the more combinations you test, the more backtest you need. Okay? So let me pause the video. Okay, it is just about to finish. And this is what we get changing different overbought and oversold levels. You can see between parentheses the selected values. 500 for the target, 100 for the stop, 90 for the overbought, 10 for the oversold. And this is not enough, because you can see the profit factor is not good. So we can also change the period of the key line. Okay, I don't know, maybe between 5 and 21 in intervals of 2. But now how many combinations we have? If we click on run, we can see at the bottom the number is 14,000. Okay, so if you have time, you can wait, or you can use the genetic method. The genetic method, instead of testing all of the combinations, click on abort. With the genetic method that you can select here, on the optimizer. Instead of default, genetic. With the genetic, we select a random combination of all those 14,000, a lot of combinations. We choose a random sample. That random sample is the generation size. I suggest testing more than 100, okay? Depending on the time and your computer, choose 100, 200, 500, etc. So we choose 100 random combinations of the total number of combinations, backtest, sort by whatever you set here, the profit factor, for example, and then test again with values between the best selections. Okay, so you sort by NinjaTrader, sort by profit factor, and then test again using the values between the best possible values. How many times? 10 times. Okay, so backtest, sort, backtest again in between the values, another time, sort again, and rebacktest and sort and backtest 10 times. In total, we have 100 combinations multiplied by 10, in total 1000. So this usually works if you have more or less 100,000 combinations, 1% of that is 1000. So you can make it work. The problem is you don't get always the best result because it is random. Okay, maybe I don't get nothing useful now, but when you click on run again, and this is the problem, when you click on run again, the results are usually different because the initial, the starting point is different. Okay, but really we don't care. We are only searching for useful numbers. Okay. Okay, now we get something like this. Okay. And if you look here, we have 400 for the target, 50 for the stop, 15 for the period, very close to the standard 14, but we are not testing 14 because we are going in periods or in increments of 2. So this is very close to the default. The smoothness is 3 because we have not changed it. You want to change, you can try no smooth and 9, a lot of smoothness, or also intervals of 2. This is 90. We can try to 95 in intervals of 5. Okay, and we can try from 5 to 40 in intervals of 5. A lot more combinations. Okay, but anyway, we are testing only 1000. So the time it is going to take is the same. Okay, so here we have a problem. We have only one trade. Okay, so only one winner is a profit factor of 99. So we need to discard this because I already mentioned it. We need a data sample big, more than 100 trades. For example, this one, 100 trades with a good profit factor, and it has been working fine on the last week only. Okay, maybe this other is a lot better. Okay, 270 trades is a really strong setup, no? Because the robustness is enough from the statistical point of view, no? Because the statistic is robust. We have a lot of data. And also, I like the equity curve because it is going up. 80% of the winners. And really, this is not a good, very important number because you can have only 30% of winners, and even so it is making money because your winners may be big, your losers are small. You can check here. We have a target of 450, big winner, a loser of 100. So your win percentage is small, but even so the equity curve is okay. Instead, on this other, we have 80% of winners because the winners are small and the losers are bigger. Okay, and all of them are good. You need to take your decision which is the pattern that you want to follow. Okay, which is more robust. Usually when the equity curve is smooth and in all the date interval it is going up, that pattern, it means that it worked for a long time. So we can expect more or less the same. So we can expect this pattern to continue working. Okay. So in other words, we are using 50 for the target, 200 for the stop, 21 for the period of the key line of the stochastic, a smoothness of 7, overbought of 80, and an oversold of 5. Okay? This is interesting because it means that this strategy is biased because the oversold 5 here, it means that we are not going long most of the time. We are taking a lot of shorts, but a few number of longs. And also you can check that from the summary here. This solution has mostly shorts. Look at the profit from the shorts, the profit from the longs, and the number of trades is only 10 trades longs and 260 shorts because it is biased, because we allow the overbought to be different from the oversold. Okay. Okay, in other words, we could find the best settings to use on the instrument I want and the time frame I want. I want to use 5 minutes on Nasdaq. Okay, it has been working. Okay, I am not saying it will work. I am saying it has been working for a big time interval, 2 months and a half. Okay, with those settings. Okay, and the stochastic is 21 and 7, so we can set those numbers. 21, 7. And the overbought and oversold are 80 and 5. This is only 5. And the upper is 80. Okay? 80 and 5. Okay? 80, 5. Now if you want to see the trades, well, you can also look at the trades from the analysis. Here, you can select chart, and now you can see all the orders. For example, this short. Let's see if we can find a long. Another short, another short, another short. Here is a long. And the long goes winner. Okay, a long at the close of this bar. And it could make it. It could be even bigger, no? But this is the optimized setting. Here we have a big loser. It is shorting, and it tried to short again, but it is ignored because it is already short. Okay, it is not adding position. And finally, it worked. Okay, this is how you can use Strategy Analyzer and also Builder. So you have an idea, you can put that idea into Builder, and then you can optimize the parameters of your idea. Okay. If you are more interested in learning more about that, we have training sessions. For more info, you can contact me on the chat room. The instructions to access to the chat room are on the description of this video. The chat room is free. Okay. So that's all. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.